This is the Senate Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee. Today is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. One reminder to, see, I'm muted. We are in a hybrid hearing today, and no one is real comfortable with them yet, but we're going to do the best that we can. To all members and staff, remember you have to mute your computers, and then if you are going to speak, you have to use your microphone at your seating place. We got started just a little bit late today because it's the first time we've done a hybrid hearing, and we were just kind of making sure everybody was online. What I'm going to do initially, and I've never done this before, but because we have some senators that are present, some senators are online, I am going to take a roll call that will simply help us establish a quorum and who to recognize for purposes of speaking. But before I go any further, I do want the various members to just say hi and introduce themselves. We haven't met in person for almost 2 years, I think. And in that time period, we have had a couple of new additions to the committee that I want to recognize. And so I think what I will do is I will start in terms of introductions with myself, and then I will go from there. My name is Scott Newman. I am a senator from Hutchinson, Minnesota. I represent all or part of 4 counties west of Minneapolis: McLeod, Sibley, Meeker, and Wright. I have been in the Senate now since 2011, and one of the areas that I've been very interested in is transportation, and that is in large measure why I am the current chair of the Minnesota Senate. With that, I will go to the ranking minority member, Senator Dibble. I see that you are online. If you would introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my name is Scott Dibble, and I'm a state senator serving in Senate District 61, which is part of Minneapolis, the southwest part mostly, a little bit of south and a little bit of downtown. So if folks are aware of the chain of lakes in Minneapolis, you know, Isles, Bedeh-Makaska, Harriet, and Diamond Lake, I kind of surround all of those lakes, and I am the ranking member, the DFL ranking member of the committee, and I've served in the legislature, started in the House in 2001. I've been on transportation my entire time. So glad to be here and glad to have a new session to start off to grapple with the problems and challenges and opportunities we have in Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. Senator Carlson, I see you are online. Senator Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jim Carlson. I represent Senate District 51, which includes most of Eagan and about a third of Burnsville. And I was first elected in 2006 for non-continuous terms, but this is my 14th year in the Senate, and I have been on the Transportation Committee for 14 years, and I served as vice chair from 2007 to 2011. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm pleased to be part of this group.
Thank you, Senator Carlson. Next up, Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Senator Julia Coleman. I represent District 47, which is pretty much all of Carver County. This is my 2nd year on transportation, and I am ecstatic to be in person.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Ann Johnson Stewart. I am newly elected to District 44, which is Plymouth, Minnetonka, and Woodland. This is my 2nd session and my 2nd session on the Transportation Committee. Thank you.
Next, we have Senator Kent. Senator Kent in particular, I want to welcome back. She was on the Transportation Committee in the past and served with us, and she is now back with us. And I just want to welcome you, Senator Kent. Nice to see you again. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a pleasure to be back on the Transportation Committee. This will be my 10th session, my 10th year, and with one brief detour, I've been on the Transportation Committee the whole time and served as vice chair during my first term. So I absolutely believe, and the evidence shows, that transportation, access to reliable and affordable transportation, is the greatest predictor of people's economic mobility, which we all understand to be ultimately the American dream. And we do very important work on this committee, and I am so excited to be back here working with you all.
Thank you, Senator Kent. Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Senator Mary Kiffmeyer, and my district includes Big Lake, Elk River, St. Michael, Albertville, Hanover, and 14 homes in Dayton. And I've been on transportation all my time in the Senate, except for one half, I think, of a session or something, favorite committee to serve on. And my district really depends upon transportation. It's a big deal. Highway 10, Interstate 94, you might have heard of that, and 169. So pleasure to be active again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Kiffmeyer does remind us of I-94 on a pretty regular basis. Thank you, Senator Kiffmeyer. Next, we have Senator McEwen. I think she is online. Senator McEwen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm State Senator Jen McEwen. I represent most of the city of Duluth on beautiful Lake Superior, a transportation hub of northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin as well. And so it is my pleasure to join all of you on this committee and to join in this important work. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Osmick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Dave Osmick, representing District 33. Western Hennepin County, at least the parts we haven't paved over yet. Been on the committee since I came to the Senate. I think I'm actually the longest continuously tenured GOP senator on the body. There were breaks. Senator Pratt had a break and you had a break. But I've been here for 10 years, and transportation is one of the most important things in my legislative bag of work. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Senator Osmick. And last, we have with us Senator Eric Pratt. Senator Pratt is new to the committee this year, and I just want to welcome you, Senator Pratt. Happy to have you here. If you'd introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Eric Pratt, I represent Senate District 55, which is Scott County, the communities of Shakopee, Prior Lake, Jordan. I have a little road called 169, Senator Kiffmeyer, that carries half the agricultural product in the state at some point in time. I served on transportation my first term. I'm in my 10th session. I took a 5-year break of service, served with Senator Kent when we were both in our first terms, along with Senator Osmick. And Mr. Chair, it's a pleasure to be back. It's nice to work on a committee that has such a dramatic and positive impact on every community in the state.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. That concludes the various members of our committee. And at this point, I am going to, it may be redundant at this point, but I'm going to take the roll call, and I think that we will wind up doing this on every committee hearing as long as we are doing a hybrid. Mr. Wilrich, if you would take the roll call, please.
Chair Newman.
Present.
Vice Chair Jasinski. Senator Dibble.
Present.
Senator Carlson.
Present.
Senator Coleman.
Present.
Senator Howe.
Present.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Present.
Senator Kent.
Present.
Senator Kiffmeyer.
Present.
Senator McEwen.
Present.
Senator Osmick.
Present.
And Senator Pratt.
Present.
There is a quorum, so we will proceed. We have 4 bills on the calendar for today. The first three bills, just so members know, it would be my intention to lay them over. The fourth bill will move on to the Judiciary Committee at the conclusion of the testimony. The first bill up is Senator Housley's bill, Senate File 2910. Senator Housley. Senator Housley, welcome to the committee. If you would like to proceed, please, with your bill 2910.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm Senator Karen Housley, and before you is Senate File 2910. You're going to hear testimony today about a woman, Joy, with mobility limitations, and she was getting off of a bus, and the bus driver wasn't properly trained in how to get somebody with either a disability or a mobility limitation from the bus onto an icy or snowy surface. So what this bill does is it actually provides training, or requires, can you hear me? Oh, you can't see me.
Just 1 minute, they want to get your picture up.
I washed my hair today.
There we go. Go ahead.
Good. Here's Joy. So what this bill does, it will allow for bus service employees, drivers, to get training on assisting people with disability and mobility limitations in circumstances where it's unsafe to get off of a bus due to snow, ice, or other obstructions. And they'll be working with Met Council and the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee. I am going to toss it to Cynthia Calais as our first testifier.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Yeah, please introduce we want to get you in front of the camera.
There we go. Perfect.
There you go. And turn it just a little bit more. There we go. Please identify yourself for the record,
Yes.
please, and proceed with your testimony.
My name is Cynthia Calais, and I am the Public Policy Associate with the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance. I am here to testify on behalf of SF 2910, which is a citizen-led bill that seeks safer bus transit for people with disabilities and mobility limitations. This bill adds a driver training requirement regarding safety for people who use walkers and Metro Transit, as well as the suburban opt-out providers, especially in inclement weather. Joy, our citizen advocate, is here with us today to share her personal story of the importance of this bill. Before I pass it over to Joy, I want to mention Joy and the Public Policy Director of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance met with June with Met Transit Operations and Accessibility staff to discuss the bill. We've also spoken with Met Council Public Policy staff, and they all do not object to this bill. I want to thank Senator Housley for chief authoring this bill and thank committee members as well as staff. And I'm going to let Joy share her personal story of why this bill is so imperative for those with mobility limitations.
Ms. Rindle Hayden, welcome to the committee.
Thank you.
Pull the mic in nice and close. State your name for the record. Yeah, turn the mic there. Thank you. State your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony, please.
My name is Joy Rindles Hayden, and I live in South Minneapolis. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Senate File 2910. My accident happened about 3:40 p.m. Monday, January 9th, 2017, coming home from physical therapy. My bus stopped at 38th in Chicago. I was getting off the bus to make a transfer. Because of the timing of buses, I didn't have a lot of time. The bus stop is near a convenience store. The store's parking lot and gas pump areas were cleared of snow, but much of the snow was piled on the sidewalk. And remember, wheelchairs only have 4 inches, so we're talking about more snow than that. I use a walker. The bus driver used a hydraulic ramp so that I could get off the bus. The ground was covered with snow, the sidewalk wasn't cleared properly, the ramp wasn't on the sidewalk. I stepped out lifting my front wheels of my walker. The back wheels got caught. I pulled, and suddenly the wheels came free over the top, and I fell backwards and landed on Chicago Avenue. The angles of the walker are 45-degree angles on the side, and hydraulic ramps are 90 degrees, which are incompatible. The injury caused me to lose consciousness. I sustained a brain bleed and had an ischemic stroke. The stroke affected my speech. It was very important that my speech and my cognitive abilities did come back. I spent 17 days in the hospital and had to undergo rehab. They wanted me to stay another week, but I didn't have the money for that. I responded to ads promoting accident prevention and safety at the 38th Street station, and the person I spoke to understood exactly how the accident happened. I offered to use my teaching skills, I'm a retired teacher, to write curriculum and work with committees to train the drivers, but we didn't get any response. So I have partnered with the Brain Injury Alliance to include training for bus drivers to increase passenger safety, especially in bad weather or after snowstorms. This is what the bill does, and I hope you will support Senate File 2910. The incident has had a deep impact on my life, and we're still struggling. I'm here today because the accident was preventable, and I want to do everything I can to keep it from happening to anyone else.
Thank you very much for your testimony this afternoon, and thank you for coming in to the committee hearing. Members, are there any members that have any questions of the testifiers or Senator Housley?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Kiffmeyer.
Well, I don't have questions, but I'm really impressed. Your recovery and your injury and all of that, you've done remarkable. And we see a lot of testifiers, and let me tell you, you are right up there with someone who can communicate and do well. And as soon as you said you were a teacher, so thank you for coming today and testifying. Your stories and things like that are very, very helpful to help change things, like you said, for the future for someone else. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kiffmeyer. Senator Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Reynolds-Hayden, I just want to say I'm so sorry that that happened to you. And I just want to share what Senator Kiffmeyer said, that you have taken this incident that happened in your life and turned it around to try to make things better. I just really appreciate your doing that. And that's how we make improvements in this state. And thank you, Senator Housley. And this is a good bill. It's an important thing we're doing. Thank you all.
I don't see anyone else. I don't see anyone online, so we have no more questions. Senator Housley. I've just been told hands are raised online. I didn't see them. Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you know, I thank you for coming in and bringing this up. You know, I formerly drove the special services bus and took people in wheelchairs and whatnot to their appointments. And we received that training where I work. It's upsetting that the folks didn't get that training, and it's upsetting that the folks didn't maintain the sidewalk in a clear and efficient manner also. So I think there's things that can be done in multiple events here, but thank you for coming in, and I think this will be a great bill because everybody needs to get that training.
Thank you, Senator Howe. Senator Carlson, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering, you know, and Ms. Reynolds-Hayden, I really am sorry that this happened to you. It's just unbelievable that something that could have been preventable, you know, caused you so much pain and anguish. But for the state here, and I'm wondering if perhaps Ms. Stengel could answer what kind of liability does this enter into? Do we have a Good Samaritan protection for people that work for a state agency, for instance? Is there something that makes sure that because we train someone and maybe they fall short of some other standard, does this open the state, or in this case, Metropolitan Transit, does it open up any kind of liability?
Ms. Stingel.
Mr. Chair, members, I don't know the answer to that, but I can look into it and let the committee know.
Senator
Yeah,
Carlson.
thank you. Thank you very much. And I guess what I'm also wondering is, when we're talking about training here, is there some level of training that we want to insist on? Is there any kind of license or certificate or some other level so that people can say they have been trained when they reach this level of training, that they actually are someone that can say, I've been trained? You know, like Senator House said, we got that training. What was his certification, or what was his level of training?
And Senator Carlson, I'm not sure that we have an answer to that. However, we do have a representative from the Met Council online. I'm going to call on him in just a moment. But I think that Ms. Rendles-Hayden wanted to speak.
Yes, briefly, thank you, Senator Newman.
Sure, pull it in the mic in nice and close.
Okay. I'm moving up a little closer.
There you go.
There, I think I can be heard now. After my attorney dropped me, and I spoke to 10 attorneys over the times about this, I went to conciliation court, and there I was told that Met Council has no liability. But as you can see, the problem is the interaction between the walker angles and the ramp angles. And that's sort of a shared responsibility. If everybody would have removed the snow, there would have been no problem. And I don't understand for the life of me why in this area of cell phones and texts, we can't get the young people to the right places at the time to get the snow removed, and then avoid the whole thing. So we don't have to step out over the sides of ramps. And I think liability is an excuse for not finding joint solutions to the problem, which I've tried to do for 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. Shetland, are you online?
Mr. Chair and members, I am.
Nice to see you. If you would identify yourself, with whom you are associated, and proceed. And maybe you could help us with these questions.
Well, sure. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm Judd Shetland. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Metropolitan Council, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to Senate File 2910. And I would also like to thank Ms. Rendles-Hayden for her comments, and Ms. Calais. I'd also like to thank Mr. Natchbar as well from the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance. We did have an opportunity to visit with them over the interim, and I've had conversations with Mr. Natchbar here over the last week. And so we are happy to support this bill. We also think it is appropriate for us to consult with the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee. I think that is a very good place for this conversation to be had. And I am very sad to hear of this incident that occurred and the injury that followed. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to speak on behalf of the Metropolitan Council and Metro Transit and let the committee know that we have had these conversations and that we support this bill moving forward. If you have additional questions, I'd be happy to take them. Otherwise, I'd be happy to follow up with specific questions about our procedures related to making sure that folks who are using walkers or canes or have mobility issues getting on and off our transit vehicles, how we approach that. And I'd be happy to follow up with you on that as well. But for the sake of time, I just wanted to make sure that the committee understood that we were in support of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Shetland. I do not see Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a question came up while Mr. Shetland was testifying. If I could ask Mr. Shetland, so what has happened between the time of Ms. Rendell's Hayes accident and today? And why do we need a new law when it seems that you're in agreement that this training and these accommodations need to be made? I'm just trying to figure out why this hasn't been resolved between then and now.
Mr. Shetman.
Well, Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, that's a good question, and I am not our Metropolitan Transit Services Director here, but I will say that the issue when it comes to cleaning where our bus stops are oftentimes properties that the Metropolitan Council and Metro Transit don't own. And as folks understand that when snow is being removed, oftentimes it will have been moved once and the snow will keep going and the plow will come through and dump it right back up on top of that property. And so it is a significant issue for us. And I think that's one of the things that Ms. Rendell's Hayden is trying to achieve in this particular bill, is to make sure that in those instances where that happens, that our bus drivers are aware and making sure that we are providing that accommodation to make sure the folks who are having those mobility issues, that our driver is taking the time and making sure that there isn't an issue at that particular stop. And so I will say that we do have a training program at Metro Transit. I'm sure that the suburban transit providers do as well. But it is, as folks are familiar with Minnesota weather, that you can clear the snow away and it can snow again, the next hour, and then we're back out looking at all of the different stops and shelters. And as I mentioned before, the Metropolitan Council, Metro Transit does not own all the properties where these stops are at. And so working with the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee and our drivers, I think is a good next step for us to make sure that the awareness on something like this is heightened and that we're able to avoid a tragic incident like we're hearing about today. And again, I send my personal condolences, and nobody likes to hear these issues, and we want to be good transit representatives and servants. And so with that, it's just important for us to make sure that everyone knows that we're supportive of this.
Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Shetman. I'm glad that there's some training going on. It seems to me this goes beyond just snow removal. This is talking about, as I read the bill, receive training on assisting people with disabilities and mobility limitations from entering and leaving the vehicle, not just snow on the sidewalk. And it snows in Minnesota, and we're not always going to get there. This is about Minnesota Nice and being there for the people that need that little extra help to make sure they get there safely. That, why we stop and let people like Ms. Rendell's Hayes cross the road at an intersection. So I hope we are, after 4 years, I hope we have taken some serious steps. And this is just making sure it never happens again. This is more cleanup language, but that Met Council really has in fact taken the steps necessary so this doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A concern I have, and I don't see it in this bill, but I feel really bad for Ms. Rendell's Hayden. She should have stayed in another week, didn't. Brain bleed is serious. That's a significant issue, and it could have been a lot more. And so the question is liability. So it seems as though here somebody's saying, well, it wasn't me, and it wasn't me, and it wasn't me, which leaves the person, Joy, in the position of having those expenses all on her own and no liability. So I'm just wondering, maybe legal counsel can address that for us, or Mr. Shetman could, where is legal liability in this situation so that if something happens through this kind of a thing, that they would have the ability to help recover their expenses?
Senator Kiffmeyer, legal liability in an issue like this can get complicated very quickly because of governmental immunity. There are laws on the books regarding snow removal. There's laws on the books regarding no liability for slip and falls when it comes to snow on sidewalks. Senate Counsel has already indicated that she really doesn't have an answer for us now, but is willing to check into it and get us an answer. But I would really kind of hesitate going much farther than that because I think we'd get into a guessing game in an area where we shouldn't be. So I would ask that let's give Senate Council an opportunity to answer your question. It's the same question that Senator Carlson had.
Right.
And we'll get an answer to that. Okay?
I appreciate that,
Senator
Mr. Chair. I just thought it
Kiffmeyer.
needed to be addressed. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you. I do not see any further comments. Oh, I see Senator Carlson is waving at me. Senator Carlson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess at the same time that we look into that issue, I'd like to also know, I really feel like I don't know this part of the law at all. And I'm wondering if there is any kind of restriction on when for instance, a Metro Transit driver can depart from the vehicle and leave the vehicle without a driver in it. Is that something that we have to also change if we do this? So that the driver is allowed to leave the vehicle? Because in this particular case, I think the person would have had to have left the vehicle, whether they have to leave it with running, whether they have to take the keys with, all of those kinds of things can enter into the final, the clash of unintended consequences.
I'm going to go to Mr. Shetland on that because I don't really know how to answer that question either. Very briefly, Mr. Shetland, do you have any thoughts on Senator Carlson's question?
Well, Mr. Chair, that is a good question, Senator Carlson, and we do have the ability for drivers to secure vehicles to render aid, and so that is a capability of our drivers. I know in our Metro Mobility service that we are able to provide door-through-door service. I think the issue that occurred here with Ms. Rindles Hayden was on one of our buses and not one of our Metro Mobility vehicles. But I have heard from Metro Transit that it is possible for our drivers to secure the vehicle and render aid. It's just, what that exactly means, I can talk to our folks and we can certainly follow up with you on that. Oftentimes we will have a busload of people as well, but as we are deploying a wheelchair lift or something like that, there are opportunities for our drivers to offer assistance. And so that's what I understand as of right now.
Thank you, Mr. Shetland. And members, I would kind of like to move on because we do have some other bills that I want to cover yet. Anybody else have any pressing questions? I do not see any. Senator Housley, any final comments before we lay your bill over?
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and members, for hearing this bill. It's a meaningful one for more than just joy. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Housley. And with that, Senate File 2910 is laid over. The next bill on our docket is Senator Pratt's bill, Senate File 700. And for testifiers I have on this bill would be Mr. Klatt, Mr. Gardis, Mr. Letourneau, and Mr. Greinland. You can fill up the testifiers table, and we will get to you very shortly. Senator Pratt, you have Senate File 700 to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senate File 700 is actually a Senator Jasinski bill. It amends the types of charges subject to a lien when a vehicle is towed at the request of law enforcement and allows the operators to better collect on the costs that they incur. And Mr. Chair, I would let it go to the testifiers to explain it more in depth than that.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. The first testifier I have is Mr. Klatt. If you would identify yourself for the record and indicate with whom you are associated.
Sure, definitely. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lance Klatt, Executive Director of the Minnesota Professional Towing Association and the Minnesota Service Station and Convenience Store Association. I'm here today, along with several of my members of the MPTA to Minnesota Professional Towing Association, to ask for support for Senate File 700, authored by Senator Jasinski and Senator Pratt. This bill relates to situations where a towing operator is specifically requested by law enforcement to tow a vehicle. Under current law, when a towing operator is requested to tow a motor vehicle by a law enforcement officer, the operator has a lien on the motor vehicle for the value of the storage and towing and keep the possession of the vehicle until the lien is lawfully discharged through payment of the fees. That is the present law. It's like when a tailor is asked to repair clothing, they have a possessory lien on the item of clothing until the bill is paid in full by the customer. The same is true with motor vehicles, and the lien for towing and storage is found in Minnesota Statutes 168B. All this bill does is expand the lien beyond the towing and storage to also include the costs involved with the recovery, the storage of cargo, and accident site cleanup when towing operators are asked by law enforcement to assist at major accident sites where cargo is involved and cleanup is necessary to protect both the public roads and the environment, such as could be a petroleum spill or a vehicle being lodged into a lake, or even an ice fisherman losing their car. Cargo can include anything from food to lumber to hazardous materials and everything in between. When our members are asked to assist in these types of situations, the work and the costs involved can be extensive. We just want to make sure that when law enforcement asks for the assistance of towing operators, that the law takes into account the true costs involved with large and necessary cleanup efforts. We very much appreciate your consideration of Senate File 700, and we thank Senator Jasinski, get well soon, and Senator Pratt for recognizing the need to expand the current statutory protections for our industry in these limited circumstances. I did bring a few towing members here today to be able to testify and to speak about some circumstances and opportunities that they've been presented with in the past year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klatt. The next testifier I have up is Mr. Gardis.
Can we switch it up? Mr. Gardis is back there. Can I go first? Or
Okay. Would you state your name, please?
Brett Letourneau.
Okay. Can you get a mic in front of him? Welcome to the committee, Mr. Letourneau. State your full name, with whom you are associated, and proceed with your testimony, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brett Letourneau. I own and operate a towing company called Citywide Service.
And pull yourself a little closer to the mic.
My family's business for 45 years. I'm also with the Minnesota Professional Towing Association. I've served as president in the past. This Bill 700, why it's needed is because things have changed since the initial bills were put in place, where we had a right to the towing and storage fees. Vehicles have changed. The way cargo is transported has changed. And so has our equipment that's required to accomplish these jobs and to be able to keep the freeway system working and the roadways clear and for transportation to continue. So we're asking for it to be expanded so that when we have a job where we have to send out sometimes tow trucks, these days can cost over $1 million to be able to do this. Cost of labor is high. So we're asking for the bill to be expanded to include the cost of the recovery, the cleanup, and all that sort of thing over and above the word just towing. When somebody thinks of towing, they're thinking of picking up a vehicle and transporting it somewhere. And that's a small part of what we do. We also get into winching vehicles out of ditches and lakes and things like that. They could be overturned on the roadway with the cargo spilled all over the place. And we have to be able to get those sort of things cleaned up in a timely manner so that the public can continue their commute. So we ask for your support in this bill to be able to continue on providing the service we're already providing and allowing us the protection to be able to collect for our services.
Thank you, Mr. Letourneau. We have a new testifier. Are you Mr. Grindelin?
Yep.
Yeah, pull in the mic and real nice and close. Identify yourself, tell us who you're with, and proceed with your testimony, please.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is John Grindeland. I'm with Twin Cities Transport and Recovery. I'm the Director of Operations there. I've been with them since 2006. I appreciate the language in this bill in general, so also everything that you all are doing in transportation. So the towing industry supports, it's not only in the transportation industry driving around, we're also supporting it by towing everything and trying to keep the roadways clear as well. So a lot of our customers that we work for is trucking and cities and school buses, things like that. But another big piece of it is for law enforcement. So for this language, all towing companies, and not just only Minnesota, just in general, they're going to do whatever law enforcement asks them to do, which is respond and clear the roadway for whatever it is. So anything that might be going down the road, they're asking us to clear the road, which might mean upright the tractor trailer, including cargo that is now ripped out the side, blocking all 3 lanes as well. So it makes perfect sense for anything that goes down the road to be included in this language for not only towing it away, but also recovering it from the roadway or the ditch or wherever it may be. And on the towing side of it, doing our best to secure any hazardous materials we can. So usually if the towing company is the first one on scene, they will put down absorbent material, things like that, to contain it from going in waterways, things like that. And then if fire gets there next, they'll take it over from there, mend out, whatever else. But there are significant, we've had many times where you have to pay to dispose of all those materials as well. And that gets in itself in the thousands of dollars when you tie up whether it's any county fees and taxes associated with disposing of it properly. So we always do our best to do what's being asked, and then it makes sense, and it's nice having the backing on the legislative side to just follow what's being asked by state, county, local law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I have a Mr. Gardis on the list. I do not see anyone.
I don't think he's going to testify on this bill.
I'm sorry, Mr. Letourneau?
I don't think Mr. Gardis is going to testify on this bill.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gardis is off the list. Members, any questions regarding Senate File 700? Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question, I have a couple of questions for whomever is prepared to answer them. One is, I'm just trying to get a handle on exactly how much more it's going to cost an individual to retrieve their car, with these additional kinds of charges that take the form of a lien, I guess. How much more is your average person who is involved in an accident going to have to pay to retrieve their car? I think we should have a handle on that in order to make an informed decision about this idea.
Which one of the testifiers would like to answer that question? Mr. Grenland?
Mr. Chairman, members, I can only speak for Twin Cities Transport and Recovery. For us, it would be nothing additional. We currently just eat the expense if it's not paid or covered. So for our company, in all my time there, it is something that's just absorbed. So that's why it's appreciated if it is backed formally. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but for us, there would be no additional because we just have our rates and they are what they are. So.
Senator Dibble.
Maybe I don't understand the bill. Because what I'm understanding the bill to do is to create additional costs to those who are looking to retrieve their car to cover the towing company's expenses around storing material, around accident site cleanup, and other things. So I'm wondering what more people are going to have to shell out to get their car out of your lot.
Mr. Letourneau.
Maybe I can clarify, Senator Dibble, Mr. Chair. The bill relates mainly to commercial vehicles. It could apply to personal vehicles also. For the fees are being charged, as Mr. Granlund said, that they're already being covered in our costs of doing service. And when what we're asking for is for it to be clarified that there's separate functions of what we do, and that it's broken down in our bills on when we perform a service. So what we're asking for is for the recovery of the vehicle. So typically, to answer your question, in my circumstance, if the car is off the roadway and needs to be winched out, that would be an additional $125. I'll just let you know. If we had to clean up some fluid and that from a passenger vehicle, a normal circumstance, you're talking about like $50, okay? So if that helps clarify a little bit. When you get into the commercial side of it, we're dealing with cargo, and we have to get specialty people out to assist us with grain vacs. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that need to get called out to handle the commercial side of it. Those costs fluctuate quite a bit and can be quite extensive in how much it costs to get done. Does that clarify at all for you, Senator Dibble?
Senator Dibble.
Thank you. My concern, I'll just, I'm not trying to be cute or coy here. I'll just be straightforward. I'm concerned that we're dreaming up new ways to charge people money to retrieve their cars, and a lot of people, particularly low-income folks, are going to be negatively affected by that and not going to be able to get their cars back if they can't pay these fees that are being construed by the towing companies. And I'm especially concerned in those instances when someone's car has been towed as a result of an accident that's not their fault, and suddenly they're responsible for, site cleanup, for example, which I've never heard of before. And so I'm wondering, have we had any opportunity to speak with other interests who are affected by this decision, whether those be, owners of commercial vehicles or low-income advocates, like Ron Elwood at Legal Aid, folks like that? Have we had any opportunity to confer in the crafting of this policy idea?
Mr. Letourneau.
To my knowledge, we haven't reached out to those people, but I can't speak for sure. But what I want to clarify that these are not new charges. These charges are being charged. What Mr. Greinland said is they're included in the cost of towing. So potentially this could lower the cost for some of your constituents if their vehicle is not needed to be winched or hazardous materials to be cleaned up and that sort of thing. If we can have backing so that we're covered for these different functions that we provide, so that it's not all just lumped under the word towing. Potentially somebody who just had their car simply just towed would pay less in the long run than somebody who had to have their car winched out of the ditch and the oil cleaned up and all that sort of thing, if that helps a little bit.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you. That does help quite a bit. Thank you. I did not understand that.
Senator Carlson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have some similar concerns here. For instance, let's say it's a single vehicle crash, a truckload of hogs going to market rolls over, the hogs get out. Now, who actually makes the request for site cleanup, which could run into extremely expensive charges? And I would suspect that it would be the liability of the hauler that would pay for that. But the difference here is if that vehicle would be extracted, uprighted, and towed to a holding yard, that could be a lien against that vehicle. That's one issue I'm thinking about. But then also, like Senator Dibble mentioned, that somebody who is an innocent party, they were T-boned. Maybe I was T-boned in my my brand new Lincoln, and it was pushed into the ditch, and my car had to be pulled out, and maybe there was some other cleanup that was involved. Who's requesting the cleanup? And is there attachment of the charges to the requester of that cleanup? And then the third thing, I guess, is does my liability insurance cover that? Does it cover that kind of expense?
Who would like to take a swing at this question?
Take it, John. You can if you like.
Mr. Greinland.
Mr. Chairman, members, in general, the towing company is always getting called by whatever that state, county, local law enforcement agency is. So they're going to be the ones requesting us out there. And the protocol for every tow operator is to check in with whoever's in charge of that scene. So that's who would be requesting for whatever needs to happen. If it's going to be towing the vehicle, wherever it needs to go, if it's going to the police department, if they're arrested, or if the person is broke down and they just want to brought back to their house, wherever it is. When it gets into the major scenarios like this, it's just going to be whatever that person in charge of the scene on scene says, or if it gets to a point where MnDOT's involved, if it's a true cleanup, they will come out as well, and they might say this is the towing company's part of it, or this is MnDOT's side of it, or whatever it may be. So, but the towing company is just going to be doing what they're told, very clearly. So, and there was a second part of that question, I'm sorry.
Senator Carlson.
I guess, you've answered some of it already, but, I am concerned about an innocent person with a high value vehicle. If the cost of that cleanup or cost of these site corrections would be something that could exceed the value, even a very expensive vehicle, and would that lien be then apportioned to that vehicle, and especially it would be only to that vehicle if that vehicle was towed or pulled out of the ditch or something else that caused it to be taken to an impound lot. And then, of course, after that is, and I'm not sure who to ask, but whether it's covered by my liability insurance.
Mr. Grenland.
I definitely don't have the answer on the liability insurance. I wish I did. But in general, most towers do. I know all the reputable ones, the ones that have been around for a long time, they are going to do things exactly what they are. So they're doing whatever the police or law enforcement's asking, and they are charging whatever is the exact things. These days, the norm is to take photos of everything as well. So whether it's insurance involved or an owner or someone else, it's just tracked and proven what's going on to just clear any of that up if there is any doubt. And that's the way I definitely see this going in general.
And Senator Carlson, I have an idea of what the liability answer would be, but that's really a civil law question, it would seem to me, and really not within the jurisdiction of the Transportation Committee. Do you have any specific request for us to try and get an answer for you, or what would you like? Because I don't know of anybody here that can really speak with any great degree of authority to your question.
That's right. And yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to have some kind of information coming from that, because, should we be increasing, should we be clarifying that role? I don't want these people to have to eat these charges. If I lose control and run off the road and run into somebody's fence and house and dog and all that, that's my liability, and that's under my insurance. But now in this case, here it's something that's on perhaps public property, and someone else is cleaning it up. I would like to make sure that those people don't have to eat it, and that also I can cover it with my insurance. So are we looking at maybe making a clarification in insurance? Because this is something that really is a liability issue for taking care of these charges. And I support the bill, but I want to be sure that that it's a realistic thing to do.
Thank you, Senator Carlson. And I just talked to Senate Councilman Stengel, and I've asked her if she could assist us in checking into it. She's probably going to have to go to Council for Civil Law to get an answer. This bill will be laid over, Senator Carlson, so we'll do our best to get an answer to your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, any other questions? Senator Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you sort of answered my question. It made me wonder, based on what you were saying, should this bill go to civil law because of the nature of this liability discussion? And I know that's not necessarily ours to decide, but.
Yeah, I guess I would respond, Senator Kent, and the thought does cross my mind. Let's see if we can get an answer to the question. The bill is still going to be here in transportation, and if necessary, we can send it over to civil law.
Okay. And so what I wanted to talk about a little bit more is much of what's been discussed. And Mr. Letourneau, I appreciate your adding that clarification that really this is more just about breaking out the costs as opposed to adding to them. But I think what you all are hearing is a concern that it creates a new way to really escalate costs for an individual vehicle owner who will have this hardship in a way that may be different than a commercial operator. And my question is, when I look at this bill, there are no distinctions like that made. I did appreciate Senator Carlson's question on the liability front, because hypothetically, say there's a roadway problem that comes from lack of maintenance from a county, and as I see one of my county sheriffs sitting over in the background, I want to be careful here, but then law enforcement comes on the scene and requests the towing service, and we've just said that this is, it seems like the fiscal responsibility to pay for this cleanup is the vehicle owners. You know, I don't know, it seems like the idea makes sense, but I'm not sure this bill exactly gets us where we need to be to make sure that people are protected appropriately. So I'm glad to hear that it will still be with us and we potentially have the opportunity to keep working on this.
Yeah, and Senator Kent, I'm going to do my best to get an answer to that question. And again, if it's necessary to send it over to civil law, I'll talk to Senator Matthews about it and we'll figure it out. But in the meantime, it's still here. Fair enough? Okay. Any other members have any questions? Not seeing anything online. Senator Pratt, anything further on your bill before I lay it over?
Senator Newman, I think we've had a robust discussion on the bill, and I would just say that the absence of a fee is not the absence of a cost, and what these gentlemen are asking for is the ability to charge what, you know, for the cost and the services that they provide, and would support holding it over for further consideration.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. And with that, Senate File 700 is laid over. The next bill on our agenda is Senate File 2623. That is also Senator Pratt's bill. And looks like we have pretty much the same lineup in terms of testifiers. I'm not sure. I do see one new guy coming up. But Senator Pratt, Senate File 2623, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's all about efficiency. So, Mr.
Computer problems. There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Well, we still got a line right in front of your face.
Mr. Chair, this is another really simple bill that, in this case, cleans up what appears to be a gap within the statute. Tow truck operators will often have to pull out oversized vehicles, or the vehicle they're towing causes them to become oversized, yet they don't have an exemption in law when it comes to traveling over the roads or any of the other regulations. So this would simply provide tow truck operators an exemption from the oversized vehicle statutes while they're towing. And again, Mr. Chair, I think our testifiers could explain the bill much better than me.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. And I see Mr. Klatt at the testifying table again. Do you wish to proceed, Mr. Klatt?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And this is a new bill, so if you would identify yourself, tell us who you're with, and then proceed, please.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lance Klatt, Executive Director of the Minnesota Professional Towing Association and the Minnesota Service Station and Convenience Store Association. I'm here today with a few of my towing members asking for support of Senate File 2623, again authored by Senator Jasinski and Senator Pratt. Currently, when a large wrecker, 26,000 pounds or more, is called upon to do a job in the winter months, technically under statute, my towing operators are breaking the law. In past years, my towing members have received warnings from law enforcement as they are overweight recovering and towing a large tractor trailer or any extremely large vehicle that has overweight exemptions, such as a school bus or a garbage truck. Senate File 2623 allows our towing operators to legally do their job without worrying about a possible citation, avoiding warnings as they are not currently exempt from local and spring weight exemptions, as a school bus is currently, or milk truck, et cetera. The Minnesota Professional Towing Association has been working with MnDOT on Senate File 2623, as MnDOT has added their suggestive language as amended. MPTA has also reached out to the Minnesota Association of Townships and Association of Minnesota Counties and have been told that they are neutral on our bill. The MPTA wanted to be sure we reached out to the interested parties, being respectful, working together for public safety, and to encourage professionalism when it comes to our roads and highways. And when you look at the language here, we worked through MnDOT, and everything that we're asking for is subdivision 3, and MnDOT redrafted into subdivision 1, 2. So if there's any questions on subdivisions 1 and 2, we can have MnDOT answer, but our ask here is in subdivision 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klatt. And we have a new testifier on the towing, or from the towing world. If you would identify yourself for the record, tell us who you are associated with, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. My name is Ron Gardis. I'm with my family towing company of Twin Cities Transport and Recovery. I also serve as the president of the Minnesota Professional Towing Association. And we're just talking about springtime overweight issues. Every year we have a member that gets stopped by either a county or a state or individual city officer that's doing spring weight restrictions, and they're saying that we're overweight. And our argument is that we're just trying to perform our job, whether it be the school bus or the garbage truck and whatnot. We've had members in the past that have gotten pulled over, and the person that the inspector is saying, I don't care if you have to wait till summertime to get that school bus out of there, you're illegal right now being overweight on the roads. And we're saying, hey, we're not trying to be illegal, we're just trying to get that school bus out of the road. And they're saying, well, sorry, but you're illegal. I've been a part of that. I got stopped going to a police call. In this particular issue, a cement truck was backing into a driveway. It got stuck in the driveway of the new housing development and blocking the roadway. State Patrol called, or the county called and said that they need help. On my way there, I get stopped and put on mobile scale saying that you're illegal. I had to have the officers that are on scene with the cement truck call the officer that was putting me on scales and say, like, hey, it's okay that they come, he's not lying to you, so on and so forth. So once again, this is not just to drive around and say that we can go wherever we want. This is only to perform the service that we've been called upon for people that are already exempt, school buses, garbage trucks, so on and so forth like that. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Letourneau. Again, this is a new bill, so identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Brett Letourneau, also with the Minnesota Professional Towing Association, and own and operate citywide service. I just want to echo what Mr. Gardis said, Mr. Klatt. We're asking for the exemption for our tow trucks on spring weight restrictions to be able to go in and get disabled and wrecked or stuck vehicles that have a restriction, have an exemption themselves. So we're asking to be able to be legal to go in and get those exempt vehicles and bring them to safety or get them out from the jam that they're in. Again, like Mr. Gardis said, we're not looking to be driving up and down roads and being overweight for no reason at all. It's simply to go in and get the vehicles that already have an exemption. So we would like an exemption to get the exempted vehicles, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Letourneau. I also have Mr. Grenland on as a testifier. Do you wish to testify on this bill? He supports them. Give us a thumbs up and waved off. Finally, we have Mr. Kruger, who has submitted a letter on behalf of the Minnesota Association of Townships. I don't know if Mr. Kruger is online or not.
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kruger, if you would identify yourself, tell us who you are with for the record, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jeff Krieger. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of Townships. I did submit a letter earlier this afternoon on this bill, and I'm here to say that MAT acknowledges the need to fix a problem for tow vehicles, which Senate File 2623 appears to do. But townships will continue to have concerns over the many weight exemptions that exist on our town roads, and legislation to create even more exemptions and more wear and tear on township roads. I'd like to highlight the need and ongoing request for an additional $20 million in consistent and sustainable annual funding for Minnesota townships. Townships are grateful to this committee and other members for the $12 million in one-time funding that was approved last year, but more is needed. And thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, and I will now stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Krieger. I do not see any more testifiers. I've just been told that Senator Pratt has a delete all amendment, the A2 amendment. Senator Pratt. It was just handed to me too. So
I'm looking for it in my packet.
just one moment. Give me one. The A2 amendment is posted. It should be in our packets.
I got it.
You do have it. Okay.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, I would move the A2 amendment. And this is, again, I've been on the bill less than 24 hours, so I would ask maybe Ms. Stengel to explain the changes in the amendment.
Yeah, just so members understand, originally this was a Senator Jasinski bill, and Senator Pratt has agreed to pick the bills up for purposes of today. So Senator Pratt probably is a little bit behind on the A2. Ms. Stengel, can you help us with an explanation?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is sort of a reorganization in a way. Section 1, subdivision 1 and 2 are similar to what's being repealed. MnDOT, from my understanding, wanted to sort of consolidate all of this into one place. So subdivision 1 is existing law, it's just now in a new place, and it allows the commissioner to issue oversized overweight permits to tow trucks. Subdivision 2 is similar to existing law in that it allows exempts size and weight limits when tow trucks are towing vehicles in certain urgent situations where a vehicle needs to be removed from a roadway and taken somewhere else. And in this situation, a permit is not required. And then subdivision 3, as you heard from the testifiers, is the seasonal load restrictions. So here, there's some exemptions for tow trucks for seasonal load restrictions when they are removing a vehicle from the right-of-way that was involved in a crash or is otherwise inoperable, or when they're pulling it from water, like a lake or something next to the road. And this exemption only applies when law enforcement agency asks the tow companies to perform that operation. And then, as mentioned, 2 things are repealed but are replaced with other language in the bill.
Thank you, Ms. Stengel. Senator Pratt has moved the A2 amendment, and I know that Senator Johnson Stewart had her hand up before the A2 was offered. So my question, Senator Johnson Stewart, did you have a question on the A2 or on the main bill? A2. The A2. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have several clarifying questions. Mr. Klatt, I'm so sorry, this is my first one. So Senator Newman, do I ask you these questions or do I ask them the questions?
You pose the question, I will recognize the testifier.
Okay. So my first question is for Mr. Klatt. Just wanted to verify, in his early statements, he mentioned 26,000-pound vehicles, and this legislation specifically mentions 20,000 vehicles. Was I mistaken, or was there a reason that that was changed? Thank you.
Mr. Klatt.
Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson Stewart, generally our large wreckers, and these guys can answer better than I can, but I'll try to answer this, is that when the bigger wreckers is 26,000 given weight. But however, what happens is when you look at the bigger trucks, each axle holds 20,000 pounds. So even though the big wreckers are 26,000 given weight, each axle, so if you have 5 axles on a truck, it's up to 100,000 pounds. So each axle is a 20,000. So that's the difference between the 26,000 of the vehicle weight versus the 20,000 per axle.
So,
Senator Johnson Stewart.
thank you, Mr. Chair. So clarification that he's talking about total weight of 26,000 and the legislation is an equivalent single axle load, 20,000, correct?
Yeah. Refer to Mr. Gardis, Mr. Chair.
Gardis.
Mr. Chair, the 26,000 pounds, that's a license classification. So it's calling it a Class A license is 26,001 pounds. The 20,000 means 20,000 pounds per axle. So that's the difference in numbers. It's just a classification.
Thank you.
Mr. Klatt, did you have anything further?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson Stewart, actually the 20,000 per axle came from MnDOT, so we're in agreement with that.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also have a little bit of clarification required on the $300 permit that MnDOT asked to put in. Do tow trucks currently have to pay for a license? Is this on top of an existing license, or is this something only for trucks who want to qualify for this exemption?
Mr. Klatt.
Mr. Gardis.
Mr. Gardis.
Mr. Chair, Senator, the $300, that's already in place. So you can buy a license that's a blanket license for your company, that there's certain provisions because axle weights are so important to the towing industry. Not to go off on a sidebar, but the towing industry is the only industry in the world that takes weight off the truck and hangs it on the back, kind of like a teeter-totter. That's why axle weights are very important to us, and that's why the original law with the $300 for the licensing fee is there, because we are overweight at times. Does that maybe answer?
So is this a change?
No.
Oh, okay. So is this a change? It's just, this is part of MnDOT wanting to put it all in one place, which is what Mrs. Stengel talked about?
Mr. Letourneau.
Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson Stewart, maybe I can, what we're asking for is an exemption for the seasonal road restrictions. The existing permit covers us under normal everyday working circumstances, but seasonal road restrictions are handled differently. And so we're asking for the exemption only for that on subdivision 3. Does that clarify your question?
Members, I just want to kind of gently remind you that we've got just a little over 10 minutes to go, and we've got one more bill. With that, Senator Johnson Stewart.
So maybe I'll just explain the reason my question exists. Is the $300 meant just to be covering administrative costs related to this? I am concerned, as are the Association of Townships, that this will in fact impose some damage on the roads. Of course, I think it's well required, and I'm not arguing against the need for the law, but I wonder if the 300 is what the $300 permit was intended for, or if I'm confused and in fact that already exists and it's just in the statute as a clarifier. So I was just trying to figure out what the $300 is meant to pay for.
I think Ms. Stengel could maybe help us a little bit.
I can try. Senator Johnson Stewart, as you mentioned earlier, this $300 fee is currently in law. It's being repealed and put in here, so it's not a new fee. And the fee is to MnDOT, and it's my understanding that it would go to cover the cost of, administering and overseeing the permit process.
Senator Dibble.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. It was kind of hinted at, but I just wanted to mention, I believe that this amendment was developed in consultation in conjunction with MnDOT, and it addresses a number of their concerns. These things are never perfect. Spring heavy loads during the springtime only takes one vehicle of a certain weight to do pretty substantial damage, particularly to the township roads and some of the lighter weight county roads. But nevertheless, these situations do occur from time to time. And so this amendment does tighten up the circumstances from the original bill and addresses a number of their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. We are going to proceed with Senator Pratt's motion. All those in favor of the A2 delete all amendment, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand, please. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed to the A2 amendment, please raise your right hand and signify no. With that, the A2 amendment is adopted. Senator Pratt, anything further on your bill before I lay it over?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we've covered it.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. With that, the Senate File 2623 as amended is laid over. Making progress. The final bill that we have up this afternoon would be Senate File 2844. That is, excuse me, the Coleman bill. Before we have an explanation from Senator Coleman, I'm going to ask Ms. Stengel if she would please identify the areas of jurisdiction in this bill for the Transportation Committee, keeping in mind that the bill will be sent over to the Judiciary Committee. Ms. Stengel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. The jurisdiction of the Transportation Committee is Section 1, and that has to do with revocation of fleeing a police officer for an offense described in the later sections of the bill.
With that explanation, Senator Coleman, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this particular area of statute became incredibly important to me and became on my radar in a really serious way when my family was driving to St. Paul and my husband looked to the left and we saw a trooper on one side of the highway, and I saw on our right a device being pulled across the freeway, and we realized we were in the middle of a high-speed chase with all three of our kids in the car. And we heard in a split second screeching tires behind us, and a person fleeing police narrowly missed shattering the back of my car with my twins and my toddler. And that was when I wanted to dive into this area of statute to see what we can do to help put a stop to this type of crime, because at that moment, the person driving the vehicle was willing to barrel through anything and anyone in their path. And I did find, through the help of our amazing research team, that there is a gap in our statute that we can work to address. I've always understood fleeing a police officer is a horrible thing to do, and have been in conversations with our law enforcement officers for over a year now about how we can best support them in their endeavors to stop this. But it wasn't until my family was caught in the middle of this high-speed chase that I learned how critical it is that we reflect in statute that those who have reckless disregard for human life while fleeing police must be subject to additional penalties. So Senate File 2844 addresses the crime of fleeing a peace officer in a motor vehicle by creating a new penalty level for the offense and requires the revocation of the driver's license of a person convicted of it. Current law lays out the crime of fleeing a peace officer. Fleeing by foot is a misdemeanor. Fleeing with a motor vehicle has a range of penalties depending on the circumstances. I put this in air quotes. Simply fleeing in a motor vehicle is a 3-year felony right now, whether the person obeys all other traffic laws or not. Fleeing in a motor vehicle and causing substantial bodily harm is a 5-year felony. However, there is a gap between the two. This bill adds a 4-year felony in between simply fleeing in a car and causing substantial bodily harm, because there is a difference between someone who is trying to get away but is generally following traffic laws without putting people at a huge risk, and those who have a reckless disregard for other people, such as reaching speeds of 100 or 120 miles per hour on a freeway, going the wrong direction on a freeway, running red lights, using dangerous speeds in residential neighborhoods, and placing people in harm's way in crowded parking lots. The way this bill is crafted is designed to cover these situations and more we have not even thought of yet or seen in the news. Because of the huge increase in stolen vehicles, carjackings, and criminals fleeing from peace officers and putting others at risk, I believe this enhanced penalty is necessary. And I have a wonderful testifier with me today as well, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, my name is Bob Fletcher. Sure.
Good to see you, by the way.
Thank you, you too.
This committee is particularly interested in your reaction, I guess I wasn't on the mic. This committee is particularly interested in your views on the revocation of a driver's license if someone is convicted of the penalty that is raised in the bill. The penalties, this bill is going to go to judiciary. So in particular, I would ask you to comment on your views of whether or not, if a person is convicted of this penalty, without going into it in detail, a revocation of the driver's license is appropriate. If you would state your name for the record, please. Tell us where you are the sheriff of, and proceed with your testimony.
Mr. Chair, thank you. My name is Bob Fletcher. I'm the sheriff in Ramsey County, and thanks for coming back. It's great to be back. I can't really summarize the bill better than Senator Coleman did, an outstanding summary. On the issue of revocation, yes, of course, we believe that the penalties need to be increased both in terms of revocation and in terms of criminal sentences. And every year in Minnesota, thousands of people flee the police now. This is a relatively new phenomenon. We're talking thousands. Every single day on the radio in St. Paul, you will hear officers saying, they're fleeing from me, I'm not pursuing. We at the sheriff's office, we do pursue, not all in all cases, but we pursue, and when we do, we find that the drivers now know that if they do extremely dangerous tactics in their driving, whether it's driving on the wrong side or high speed, that we will likely curtail and terminate our chases as well. So this has created a huge increase in chases because offenders are more likely to chase now than they ever have because they know law enforcement is concerned about liability, etc., and they don't want to injure others. Consequently, though, many of these young kids drive in such a reckless fashion on a regular basis that they are injuring and hurting others. Quite often they come very close, as Senator Coleman has said. So there is a gap in our statute between normal fleeing the police and fleeing the police where you injure someone. And that's the gap we're trying to fill, both in terms of sentencing, but also in terms of messaging to the criminals. We want the criminals to know that if you decide to go on the wrong side of the street, you've just upped the ante in terms of what your potential offense will be. So this bill has broad support of law enforcement. We welcome a discussion in the judiciary as well. People might want to tweak it. I would say this, that unless we send the message that we're going to take chases seriously, we're going to continue to allow criminals to flee and leave us, and we won't be able to apprehend them.
Thank you, Sheriff, for your comments. Members, do we have any questions from anyone? Senator Dibble.
Well, Mr. Chair, I see we're at our time. I know our members want to have a slightly more thorough discussion than time allows. Is it at all possible to keep this bill here and have that more thorough discussion at our next committee meeting on Thursday?
Senator
I'll just let you know, Mr. Chair, we have 3 amendments we'd like to offer.
Amendments to this bill?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I was unaware of that. Are the amendments germane to the revocation issue, Senator Dibble? Or are they germane to the jurisdiction of judiciary?
I'm not sure, Mr. Chair. But in any case, there is no germaneness rule on amendments in committee.
Well, yeah, there is.
Sure,
I don't. as far as the chair is concerned, Senator Dibble, there is a germaneness issue. I don't want to debate the jurisdiction of the judiciary. Any amendments that you would have would certainly be appropriate if we are talking about the revocation issue, and that's what I'm trying to dial into, because I don't know what you have for an amendment. Are you able to enlighten me at all as to whether or not your amendments deal with the revocation issue or the jurisdiction of the judiciary?
Mr. Chair, you know, I don't know that the amendments are relevant to judiciary or not, but you know, we're being asked to vote on the totality of the bill, you know, regardless of whether or not one section of the bill is germane. You know, is the relevant section that we're to be discussing, and so the entire bill would be, you know, connected to our vote for or against, and you know, some of us might be more comfortable voting for the bill going out of this committee with modification to it, and we should have that opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, Senator Dibble, I understand. I think, Senator Dibble, we're going to take just a real short recess. I want to kind of think about this. Senator Dibble, are you able to share the amendments with me at this point?
I'm comfortable sharing mine. I don't want to speak for my members, but
okay.
Mine has to do with the conditions under which a stop can be made.
Okay. Does Ms. Stengel have that amendment? Senator Dibble?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
So that,
all right. I'm going to take a short recess, Senator Dibble, and I'll visit with Ms. Stengel about your amendment, and then we'll make a decision. So just for a few minutes, we stand in recess. Meeting will come to order. We're just waiting for Senator Coleman's computer to get lined up. Okay, members, I had a chance to look at Senator Kent's A5 amendment. Senator Dibble, I haven't looked at your amendment yet because I made a decision on the basis of Senator Kent's amendment that her amendment is germane to the Transportation Committee. So what I've decided what we're going to do is I'm going to lay this bill over, and it will provide both you, Senator Kent, and whoever else has, apparently there's another amendment out there that I'm not aware of, an opportunity to discuss it. We'll pick the bill back up on Thursday. We've got kind of a full day, but we'll do the best that we can on Thursday. Senator Kent, I have in my hand your amendment. Is it okay if I keep it and review it? Senator Dibble, I have your A3 amendment. Is it okay if I keep it? I have not yet read it.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. You know, we'll pledge no big drama, and we'll try to go through these and have an efficient. You know, we just want a chance to kind of talk through some of the issues that Senator Coleman's bill, which, you know, frankly, some of us support the underlying bill, raised.
Yeah, Senator Dibble, this is not a problem. We will pick the bill back up then on Thursday, Senator Coleman, and discuss whatever amendments are out there. And if there's another amendment and the author of the amendment is willing to share it with me, I would appreciate it very much. So thank you, Senator Dibble. Thank you, Senator Kent. Senator Coleman, with that.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I think Senator McEwen has her hand.
I'm sorry, Senator Dibble?
I see Senator McEwen has her hand.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. Senator McEwen, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Dibble. I have the third amendment, is the A1 amendment, and I'm happy for you to go ahead and look at it as well, Senator.
And does Ms. Stengel have that amendment also?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator McEwen. Okay, with that, I now have the A1, A3, and A5 amendments. I'll take a look at them, and we'll pick them up on Thursday. Senator Coleman, Senate File 2844 is laid over until this coming Thursday. We'll pick that bill up again. And members, with that, I think we have completed our agenda, and we are adjourned.